Aloha! Welcome to the 40th Annual Hawaii International Film Festival presented by Halekulani and our discussion with Bao Tran, director of The Paper Tigers. We would like to extend our thanks to all of our sponsors for supporting this program and our film festival. Some quick housekeeping bits for program updates. If you'd like to see some up-to-date information on additional information about our programming and the full schedule of films, events, and HIF's talk story sessions and Q&As, please visit our website at www.hiff.org. And also, we invite you all to participate in the Hawaii News Now Audience Award voting. Head over to hawaiinewsnow.com/HIF to cast your vote to our favorite narrative, documentary, and short film. Mahalo to the Hawaii News Now Network for their support here. Bao Tran, are you ready for our Q&A?
I was born ready.
Oh, I love
Aloha.
it. I love it. I love it. All right. My first question to you, Bao, is you've been an active filmmaker for some time, maybe some would say a bit too long, but this is your first feature-length film as a writer/director. So take us back to the beginnings of your journey with the Paper Tigers and how you came to lead your own project.
Well, I started this script maybe about 9 years ago when we had first pitched it at the project market at the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival. And we had basically a one-page treatment at that time. And we had basically my producer, Michael Velasquez, and I went into that pitch, and we were very wet behind the ears and had no idea how to put together a movie from a producing side, kind of a proper producing, financing side. So it was little did we know, 9 years later, we ended here. A lot of hard lessons learned along the way. But at that time, I just wanted to, I was ready to direct my own feature. I was working for some other people as an editor. I was working in Vietnam for a bit of time. So this felt like the right time, at least 9 years ago, it felt like the right time to start directing my first feature.
Wonderful, wonderful. Must have been a very courageous leap into your own foray. And I've seen the film. Yes, very
great word to use.
So brave, so brave. I've actually seen the film twice, and I'd like to say that The Paper Tigers is very much like a throwback to a lot of the films I grew up with as a kid, especially in the 1980s and 1990s, which pretty much dates me, but whatever. And I'd like to think you're taking a lot of the energies of that era, but bringing it into the modern world. So could you describe a little bit more of your personal connection to this culture and genre of martial arts and martial arts films?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously kind of the bread and butter that I grew up in the same time period as well, just watching films, both East and West, growing up and going out to see E.T. in the movie theaters and the multiplexes, but then being at home and seeing what we would call like serials and TVB serials and Hong Kong movies that we would borrow from cousins or rent from the mom and pop Asian shop, and have those two diets, be my basically movie diets of seeing both East and West storytelling. So a lot of that was very much influential, and obviously it just kind of like seeps in like osmosis. So that type of film is definitely what I grew up on, and the type of storytelling that I really like, because there's something really universal about it, and really just in a way, you could watch a movie that you don't understand the language and just by subtitles, but you can relate and understand kind of like the drama and the conflict that are happening and the comedy that's happening as well. So a lot of those things kind of like, definitely were hidden childhood lessons in terms of making movies.
Mm-hmm. So are you actually trying to say that your own work is an influence of E.T. meets wuxia films? Do I want to be correct here?
I think it's everything, Well, I think everything we were just watching together in terms of like, it almost feels like Asian film, especially Hong Kong films of that time, often deftly blended between what we would call genre, and it was comic at times and melodramatic at times and super actiony at other times, and it all seemed to like really fit and be fine. Whereas I feel like in the West, there's I guess the need to always box something in and kind of like categorize what type of film it is. So I always felt like that type of freedom, and I never felt like that we had to be bound by any certain type of things. It really just kind of following the honesty and the mood of the story.
Got it. Very cool. I'd like to talk a little bit more about your own roots and what you kind of look at as your own community. This particular production was shot and set in Seattle, Washington. And I've known you've had a lot of, let's call it encouragement, if not push to potentially make your films elsewhere in the more common locations such as New York or Los Angeles. So talk about a little bit more of your motivation of keeping the production in Seattle, as well as many of the challenges that come with making a truly local film.
Yeah, so that's quite a bit to unpack there. One is number one, where Seattle's in Washington State, and usually, if a film is done outside the LA or New York kind of metro area, it's usually because there's a film incentive, what we call like a production incentive, basically state economic competitive measures to entice or to lure film production to their area or to their state and work more. So there's several states that are very competitive in that sense. Louisiana was competitive at a certain point, Georgia as well as British Columbia and Vancouver, which is just a 3 hours drive away from Seattle. So there's quite a lot of locations and a lot of options for us to kind of make sense numbers wise. With the incentive, because you can get your a good chunk of your portion of your money back just by doing that. But for a lot of reasons, we just felt like we felt like Seattle was the right place. Number one, it was our home, and number two, we just had a lot of contacts that we felt like we could call in and call favors at midnight the night before the next day's shoot, and in case of any type of fire drill or any type of whatever emergency need that came up, and we could do that. Otherwise, if we went to a different city, we would be strangers, and we were kind of at the mercy of whatever the community of the city or there could do. But we feel we could really ask around for a lot of favors and beg and not steal, but beg for favors and curry as much help as we could. So we shot in the Chinatown International District of Seattle, and we had a lot of communities show up and provide food and snacks and stuff like that. So a lot of that stuff, you don't count that on the books in terms of accounting. So that doesn't often equate, but we just believed and we knew that this community was here and they would show up if we just built it. They will come.
Well, I think it's a wonderful thing that you had such a strong tie to your local community and also treated it in a very inclusive way. Many of the popular stops and all that were featured within the film as well, as if it's almost another character. I'd like for you to talk a little bit more about the process of independent filmmaking itself. And I feel like over the last 9 years, you've gone through almost every single process you can think of when it comes to financing your film, producing your film, etc. I love what wisdom you can offer to other people who are looking to also support their own films in whatever context you feel would be most helpful to them, especially when it comes to things like crowdsourcing or seeking investors or really just putting themselves in the right strategy to make their film happen.
Well, I think it starts with kind of square one, whether the story and the project that you have is something you really care about, because that will kind of carry you through the long and sleepless nights and kind of the hard, long days as well. So you have to have something that you are passionate about first and foremost, so that you can, basically just have something to believe in and follow, because it's going to be really hard. And I don't want to put any dressing or any nice niceties around it. It's going to be really hard for anyone who wants to create something at a certain scale with a certain, integrity of vision. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to find people that are going to support you and believe in you. So it's not about finding, the perfect candidate or perfect company that's going to swoop in and give you all the money that you need. It's really just finding the right partners that are willing to kind of go the mile with you. Mark Duplass is another well-known indie filmmaker. He has a famous saying is that the cavalry is not going to come. And that's something that we always kind of saw and knew early on, is just in the sense that, we always expect some big money angel who's going to come in and sign some magical check and make it happen for you. But it's not. It's always been small pieces put together for our film. And it's different for every film, but for us, that's just always been the case. And so we never kind of have it in our mind to think that, someone was just going to swoop in and ease all our burdens and wipe away all our troubles with, one fell swoop. And it was never going to be that case. It was going to be a long drudge and it could be an uphill battle. So I think if anything, you have to believe in the project that you have first, and then everything else will come along the way. You're going to learn the lessons, the hard lessons. But as long as you keep trudging, you'll get there.
Yeah. I got to say, I mean, I've been following your journey for as long as I've known you, and it's been amazing to watch, first your film come to completion, but all of the rave reviews, all of the recognizable film festivals you've been getting into, and the fact that you've also scored at least one distribution deal, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's all been public now. Yep. Fantastic stuff. I have to ask, and I may already know your answer, but it's one of those things where I have to ask anyway. Are you already thinking about, now that you've gone pretty much near the end of this wonderful journey for you, about the next project and what's the next thing you might work on?
Well, what do you think my answer is?
You've told me already. Well, no, here's what a younger, more vulnerable Bao once told me, which was, I'm working on the one film. Like, no, that's my film. Like, why are you talking about another film? Is it still that answer?
Did I do it like that? That Woody Allen thing? Like, what do I do?
I do as I think my impression.
It came across, yeah.
It is. I'm just channeling the energy from what I remember. Absolutely, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, thank you for the good words about the distribution. We are going to have a theatrical release in April 2021. So we do have quite a bit of housekeeping and kind of few things to kind of do, and also marketing and getting the word out there about the film. So that is going to be like a full court press as well, at least for the next year and a half, to try to get this out there. I do have projects. I think we're all a little unsure about what this might mean in terms of COVID and production protocols and stuff like that. So I have projects that are kind of at different budget levels. So it kind of depends on what might, take first. So that's, I'm trying to keep my option open, and I, want to kind of see how the world's going to settle, or hopefully improve in a way that we can, have a little more options in the next movie or next project.
Sure. Well, regardless of the circumstances, I wish you nothing but continued success with this project, which I will be aggressively following and telling all my family members out of just ethnic duty, but also because it's a wonderful story and it's a wonderful journey for people to all be a part of. So again, congratulations, and thank you so much for being part of this Q&A. And I want to thank you all for watching this Q&A as well. A special mahalo to all the HIFF sponsors, the board of directors, and our HIFF Ohana members. We hope you enjoy the rest of HIFF40. My name is Lee Ngol, and I am signing out. Thank you so much.
Hello.